Welcome back to the show. It's Kevy's Corner. And boy, I tell you, so excited about our next guest. She is tremendous. She is a native St. Louisan, and she has created a tremendous, I would call it youth business, marketing, branding opportunity. It is known as Power Uprising, and it gives youth the opportunity to learn about business and marketing. And there's so many other parts to it, but she's doing a phenomenal job. Had the opportunity earlier this summer to see the students in action at one of their presentations. Please welcome to the show. So glad to have her, Daya Harris. Daya, how you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing great. It's always great talking with you, so I'm happy to be back. Thank you for having me.
It is awesome to have you back. We had you on the radio before, so now we get a chance to go a little further with you. And Power Uprising, you founded this organization, this business plan. I guess you did it back in 2020?
Yes, I launched Power Uprising in 2020. It was a soft launch during the thick of the pandemic, October 2020. And it was really at a time where I felt people felt powerless. There was, many people were killed from the virus, the COVID virus. There wasn't a vaccine even announced then. And it was also in the wake of George Floyd. So I think especially for brown and black people, it was like, okay, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but we're still experiencing social injustice and discrimination. And I think for me, it was a moment to kind of step out and remind people of their power and to own their power and take it back. And so I knew it was the thick of COVID. So the idea was really a soft launch, which was a promo video. So I had close friends and family submit a 10-second video clip. Just filming themselves, very simple, from their phones and saying what power is to them. What does power mean to you? And I really was expecting maybe 25 people. I think I asked a lot of people in hopes that, okay, at least 25 will send it. And I ended up getting about like 45 people that submitted it. And it was amazing. I was very thankful because I couldn't really tell them much about the full program. It was confidential before the launch, but they trusted me enough to know this is something that's going to be powerful and of quality, and it meant a lot to me. And I just compiled it. You know, a lot of them were from maybe Androids or iPhones. Some of them were vertical, horizontal. So you can imagine in media putting that together, trying to make a promo. And it ended up being longer than 90 seconds, but it wasn't too long because I wanted to get everyone in there. It was a nice mix of black and brown people, and it was very powerful. And that's still up as my first launch. And so 4 years later, there was a lot of rebuilding, re-strategizing due to COVID. A lot of companies that had kind of funding and partnerships on hold, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of businesses that needed funding and loans. So I think everything's divine timing. So really just use that time to rebuild, re-strategize, and just trust when to fully come out with the hard launch and the first initiative. And just to give a little background, I know we kind of jumped into the promo, but Power Uprising is a global community organization that educates, empowers, and excels people of color in marginalized communities through STEAM programs and partnerships. So our 6 focus areas are actually quality education, gender equality, financial literacy, social and economic justice, human rights, and health and wellness. So I'm just really excited. Fast forward from 2020, from the soft launch, we had our first initiative called Power Moves in Business and Entrepreneurship, which we just launched in June 2024 in partnership with TRIO and Higher Education Consortium.
And that's where I had the opportunity to see you and the students you had. There was a 4-week period where you worked with these high school students, and I think you had them in all 4 classes, 9 or freshmen through seniors.
Yes.
And they had to basically develop business plans.
Absolutely. And I loved seeing them grow over those 4 weeks. It truly was a transformative course. And I'm also a business professor. I teach at Southern New Hampshire University. So a lot of the curriculum for high school students was college level. It's an accelerated college level course. So to see how they performed, and it was only 4 weeks versus like an actual semester term. And we met 2 days per week over the summer in the month of June. So really understanding and hearing their voice meant a lot to me, and they inspired me as much as I inspired them. You know, hearing their testimonials and their stories of what Power Moves did for them, equally it did the same for me. And for the Power Moves initiative that launched under Power Uprising, is basically a 4-week curriculum that teaches students how to not only learn all aspects of business and marketing, but learn how to be change agents. So they do research and they create a solution to a problem in their community. And it's something that they want to see. It could be a new business, a new platform, a new organization for their community. And based on that research, they mention the problem, then they develop the solution. From there, they also talk about their promotion, their target audience, the funding that's needed. So it's a full, intense business curriculum. And what really excited me was them learning every aspect and the teams, the unity that came from it, and hearing their stories behind it. So a lot of those statistics were mental health, suicide increase, the violence, teenage pregnancies, literacy rates, what do we do about quality education in our communities, and to see them just hands-on and hear it from them directly. Because there's always tons of meetings around teenagers and youth and these statistics, especially in St. Louis City, but they're not at those meetings. They don't have a seat at the table.
Right.
So to hear from them directly and know that they are seen and heard and their voice matters, I definitely saw the transition and all that they put into this project. And they all created web apps.
Yes.
And so that was the product. That was their final project for the curriculum. But the web apps were all different. So some of them were gaming experiences. Some of them were fitness and wellness, mental health. Some of them were for legal aid for students. Some of them were addressing gun violence in schools. So these are just some of the examples of the intensity of how they see their community and what they see as a solution. And all of these products were built for teenagers by teenagers. So they were their own target market. And so I think that was the brilliance of it, and giving them the stage to do that, them learning public speaking, being nervous but overcoming it, and tying it to themselves. What's the why behind it? There has to be something personal.
Sure.
And that's why I feel it's transformative, because it can't just be numbers and statistics anymore. It can't just be a test score.
Right.
Like, you have to really speak to youth's mind, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. How is this curriculum changing their entire life and mindset? How is it thought-provoking and engaging for them?
And you certainly did that with them. And I guess, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I was just so impressed with these young people, just the way they presented themselves. And you had so much taking place. You mentioned it before. It was the public speaking. It was the technology. They had to develop these apps. And then they had to have a plan. And then they had to present this before professionals who were from various different career areas.
Yes.
And then kind of get them on board with what they were trying to promote.
Yes. So the final project was a Shark Tank assimilation style.
Yes,
so after they
Shark
created the
Tank,
product, they had to do a business pitch and present it in front of 5 highly acclaimed judges. And I was very strategic with the judges I picked, very active in the community, people who looked like them, so they see what's possible. And so our first judge was Melanie Johnson, the news anchor from Channel 4 KMOV.
KMOV, right.
Yes, and Chief John Hayden.
Absolutely.
He's amazing. He's still the chief.
He's still the chief, no question
the
about
Obamas
that.
are always the president, first lady. So chief, he's our forever chief.
That's right.
Amazing and very active in the community still, even retired. And Angela Pearson, she's the Deputy Operations Director for Mayor Tashara Jones.
Absolutely.
Very active in the community. She was amazing. She was an amazing judge. She gave great insight to the students. And Attorney Kenneth Goins, which you're familiar with.
Very familiar with Kenneth and I. We go way back.
Yes.
Kindergarten through high school to college.
Wow, wow. And he's very active in the community and a great asset as well. And then last but not least, we had Miss Sheila Forrest, who's a business owner at Afro World. And her shop is amazing. It's like Black excellence when you walk in. I just love seeing it grow over the years. It's been around, I want to say, since the 60s.
Yes.
So really enjoyed seeing her shop and having her there as a business owner, understanding entrepreneurship as well.
Yeah, you had put together like a dream team panel, and that was really special. I'm also kind of curious too, when you talk to the teenagers, and I think you said it best when you said oftentimes they're not at the table when we talk about, well, the youth, they need this, they need that, but too many times they're not at the table. But I'm just kind of wondering, because they had some really honest conversations
Yes.
with you.
Yes.
And I wanted to kind of get a sense of what you were able to get from them in terms of what they thought the biggest needs of St. Louis is with respect to addressing the needs of teenagers. What did you hear from them?
Yes. One thing I did that definitely stood out from the very beginning, I think this was within week 1, and then we kind of talked about it more in week 2, is that a lot of them are victims of what they've created as a solution. So several of them have experienced violence in their schools.
Okay.
Several of them have experienced what they feel was discrimination from some of the leaders in education. So that's why they created the student legal aid program. So it's a lot of them sharing their stories, but also knowing some of their hardships outside of the schools as well. Some of these are within our communities, within our households. And so being that these are only, some of them, 2 of the students were only 15, but they have seen shootings, killings in front of them. That's traumatizing as a teenager.
Yes,
that's traumatizing for an adult. So imagine a teenager.
Absolutely.
One of my students, he was amazing. He just lost his brother about a month before the program, and he was only 15. So his brother was shot and killed, who's 12. And so these things are happening at a very young age. And so for me, it was not just teaching them from understanding business and marketing, but showing them that they're powerful now. You don't have to wait until you're 30 or 40. You can implement what you want to see now, and your stories matter now. And I was just lucky enough, and I guess I'll say blessed. I like to say blessed. Thank you. To be in their presence and for them to trust me enough to be vulnerable with me, to share their stories. And I think a lot of times you have to fully trust. Students pick up on energy, and so there's a equal trust that's built when you build rapport, and they feel like they can talk to you, and they know that you genuinely care. And for me, I came in with high expectations, and I think that was something. This program, they'll always remember. They've never had to do that before. They were nervous. We have to present to judges. We're going to be on the stage. We're doing a business pitch. They learned all these aspects, and they were excited and nervous at the same time. I could tell, but they showed up. And that was what made me proud. And it showed them that I can push through the trauma I've been through. I can push through the hardships. I have a voice. And it's really, where do you apply that? We all go through something, right? But it's, to me, I'm really big on like faith and energy too. So it's like, where do you apply that? This happened, but how do you use it as a voice? How do you push through this? And as you push through it, you're inspiring others to push through it. And so I was just so proud of them because I knew behind the scenes. I knew their transition from week 1 to week 4. I heard their stories. So I was literally on the stage to the side in tears watching them present and share these stories because wow, like you could see the transformation and the transition of what they were doing and what they were speaking on that was so positive. And so, I was like that summer program mom that was like crying on the side, like, wow.
I could see you were very, very emotional as they presented. And you know, as you would expect. I mean, I can understand, like I said, it's the mom, this was their debut, and they were really showcasing their skills like that. And you know, again, just to ask you about, you know, the creation of Power Uprising, to put that together the way you did, it took a lot of planning because first of all, you had to train the students, you had to get them trained, you had to work with them, and then you had to coordinate all the people, the support people, that panel you had, and put all that together. And you only had 4 weeks, and then I didn't realize this, but I'm hearing you say that you basically you met with them twice a week.
Yes, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay, for a period of time. I don't know how long.
4 weeks.
For 4 weeks.
Twice a week for 4 weeks. It was only 8 sessions
but
total.
Each session, how long as far as time, I guess, is what I was
Each session was about 60 minutes.
Wow, that's all.
Yes.
So that's even more tremendous what the students were able to put together.
And you could see the transition because I remember there were some students week 1 that they weren't fully grasping it. And I remember one young lady in particular, she was like, I don't want to do business. I don't want to be in business and marketing. I want to do forensics. Like, she had her mind made up. By week 2, she was so engaged. She was raising her hand, giving her opinion. She became the CEO of her group.
Well, what was the turning point? What
Yes.
changed her where she wanted to go?
Yes.
Or she began to even look at the business side of forensics. What occurred? What happened?
You know, what's interesting is I noticed that once I started showing some of the examples on Shark Tank, so I wanted them to prepare for the judges. So I showed them some of the Shark Tank clips, but I was very strategic with what I showed them because they needed to see themselves.
Yeah.
So I showed a Shark Tank video of a young black girl who started her own hair care company.
Okay.
And the success, how that product made her and her mom a millionaire within 2 years.
Wow.
And then I showed another one of a young black boy who started his own product with a single mom. And it was literally t-shirts, it was merchandise, but it was the meaning behind the merchandise that made him literally sell out and go crazy. He started at 12, by 15 he was a millionaire.
Wow.
And so I could tell that, and that's why representation matters in education, because I could tell that literally first week head was down, you know, just very not engaged. And the crazy thing is she wants to start her own business now. She literally wants me, she's reached out to me, she keeps in touch. I keep in touch with all the students, so it's not just the summer program, but she's like, can you help me with career advice? How do I get this going? What she presented, she actually wants to launch now. Wow. And so helping her with that, and it's complete transition, but I think once she saw herself in those Shark Tank videos, and once I was able to kind of grasp their mind, where it's not just routine. I'm not saying, you know, X times Y equals Z or whatever it is, you know, like I'm literally drawing you in. I'm engaging you right where you are.
So
that's what made her.
It almost sounds like maybe you have a lesson maybe for educators, teachers like myself, with a strategy. Is it? And you correct me if I'm getting it wrong, but are you saying that any examples you have to show them themselves, or maybe, you know, you can expound on that?
Yes, I think representation is a very important piece, but that's not all. I think also having people that genuinely care, having empathy versus judgment, I think is very important. And as I said, I guess mentioned earlier, is people can tell when you're genuinely there because you care versus when you don't. And when you have high expectations and you push them in an encouraging way versus like, I'm just here to do a job as a teacher, I'm underpaid, it's too many students, you know, and I get it. I'm not just, you know, talking about teachers, I understand their side as well. But I saw a situation and I said, okay, how do I transform this? I met everyone during the first week. They all introduced themselves individually. That was the first piece of public speaking. They had to stand up and introduce themselves. And when everyone introduced themselves, I took a mental note of each of them individually. Okay. Their story, how they present themselves, and just things I picked up. Okay. And in those moments when I had another young lady who was like on her phone, and I was, you know, the first week, and I was like, hey, we have a very fast-paced course here. We have a lot to do. We can't be on our phone unless you're doing research, but you have your laptop for that. You shouldn't be on your phone. And she had just a really bad attitude, but instead of me taking the phone or, you know, like yelling or getting upset and putting her on Front Street in the class, I pulled her aside and said, hey, you're not yourself today. Like, what's going on? And I joked with her, do I need to beat somebody up? What's going on? You know, just to get her to laugh or smile and let her know, I see you, I notice you, I notice your energy is different. And for her to know that I paid attention enough. And it wasn't like, let me chastise her. I just put her aside and talk with her. Her energy completely changed. And I think making those personal connections, it's loving in a tough way, but learning how to bring them in, because they're used to people saying, put your phones up, or you have detention, or you have this. Sure. But having someone that brings them in and let's talk, and that's a part of mental health too. Let's talk about it. What's going on?
That's it. So, you know, we know as we wrap things up here with you visiting, of course, with Daya Harris, who is the founder, the creator of Power Uprising and many of their projects. She does it under the title, the name of Power Moves. Yes. At this point, what would you say of the future? What are your aspirations and goals? Where do you see Power Uprising headed?
Yes, lots of growth. This is just the first year. We're getting better each year, just getting started. One initiative that is coming up, our first global initiative, will be in Ghana. And so I mentioned the 6 focus areas. So that will be more on gender equality, making sure that the young girls there have access to business resources, business education, and just quality education overall. and learning how to brand and market their products and themselves. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And as far as St. Louis locally, our next project coming up is with American Basketball Association.
Okay.
And that will be Power Moves in sports management. So they'll be learning event execution, project management, and marketing and branding. And what's great about that, although Power Moves in business and entrepreneurship is still my spiritual baby, that's the lead. And I learned the students love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that program the most. But we do create custom curriculums as well for different programs, institutions. So this was more of a custom curriculum from Power Moves where students, it's like a paid internship, they get business experience and a business reference that's more on-site versus creating it as entrepreneurial. And so they'll learn a lot and be able to participate in the championship weekend games. And so finalizing and getting that curriculum ready to go for them, and that will start in October. So really excited about that.
We'll definitely look out for that in the spring. So as we wrap it up here, Daya, if someone wants to become, if they want to find out more about Power Uprising, Power Moves, how do they get in contact with you, and what should they do?
Yes, you can definitely go to poweruprising.com. If you want to email the team directly, you can go to info, I-N-F-O, at poweruprising.com. We're also on every social media network.
Yeah.
So power.uprising on Instagram, Power Uprising on Facebook. And if you want to reach me directly, I'm DH at poweruprising.com, just my initials for Daya Harris. And we're definitely open to all areas, especially all marginalized communities and inner cities, as well as corporate sponsorships. We're looking at those right now too, global partnerships, and any educational institution that feels like this program is needed or they want to create something custom for their students. If there's a need, we can make it happen and definitely be there.
Yeah,
and we do have one for HBCUs coming soon as well, college level.
Oh, terrific. And we know you're going to do it, and you coordinate whatever you need to make it happen. Well, Daya, thanks so much for being on the show with us again, and continued success to you and Power Uprising along with Power Moves, because you are making some power moves here.
Thank you.
That is Ms. Daya Harris, and of course she is the founder of Power Uprising. So look them up. Like she said, she's on all the social medias. You can find her and find out about the great work she's doing, and probably bring her into your organization is what you really want to do. And she can help your youth in their development in the business and marketing and just all the areas that she talked about. All right. That is Daya Harris from Power Uprising. Kev, thanks for being on the show, and we'll talk to you next time.